joined by Tom, co-founder of Hunt Wheels, as you would have seen. Been riding Hunt Wheels for the last couple of years, and
cool.
I mean, thank you very much for your time. We've come to visit the Hunt HQ for the day, see you behind the scenes, and see what it's all about. And you've given up a few minutes of your day to
thank you.
Hear more about what we've got here, more about the brand, and reasons for starting Hunt in the first place. Where did it all start? Just over 10 years ago now.
That's right. Thank you for coming down as well. Thank you for riding the wheels, and obviously thank you to anybody else riding the wheels as well. We started work on it in 2014 after I'd worked at a couple of other bike companies and a bike shop before that. So had a bit of experience with bicycle wheels, brands like Reynolds, Fulcrum, Campagnolo, trying to remember. DMR, we had our own wheels as well for kind of dirt jumping and things like that. So that's the company I used to work for before as well. My brother had worked he was a bike rider too. Obviously we've both ridden bikes for quite a long time. Neither of us very good, but we'd done most types of riding, whether it was road racing, time trialing, downhill racing, even bits of dirt jumping and things like that. So and just enjoyed it all and loved bikes and complete bike geeks. And obviously my brother, he'd after obviously we'd both been to uni, and I'd worked in the bike shop and done bike industry stuff, and he'd done kind of like a material science degree at Cambridge, and then went into kind of more banking, offshore banking, which is, because we're from the Isle of Man, so that's kind of what you do if you're going to stay there. So and that together meant starting a business in bike industry seemed to make some good sense. And we looked at wheels, and we knew that the wheels at the time were often maybe the wheels that we would could afford to buy, really, because obviously there were some very expensive wheels, £2,000-3,000, but the wheels we were always buying were £400-600, and there weren't that many wheels at that price, and you're often looking and going, well, for not very much more money you could spec a much better product. And we felt like things like good tubeless designs in terms of profiles and usability, triple butted spokes, good quality Japanese bearings, things like that hadn't really made their way in. Wider rims, which we knew would improve rolling resistance and improving grip and handling comfort. All those things didn't really seem to cost that much money.
But no one really seems to do it. That's sort of what I found out today, actually. The amount of R&D that's happening at Hunt, that's really not many other people are doing, and actually really pushing, and so what? Actually challenging those industry norms and standards and going, so what happens if we do this? And actually the results have been really quite interesting. And I think that's sort of coming in the fact the new 4am, the new 5am's they're so much lighter, they're going slightly wider, and actually so just like those little details, they're faster than pretty much anything I've come across, but it's how then they feel out on the roads, and it's like transferability. What's actually fastest in a wind tunnel isn't necessarily the fastest in real life, because there's so many more variables. There's hills, wind direction, rolling resistance. There's so many more things to think about, and I think you're doing that more than anyone else, just pushing those boundaries.
we tend to look inside and go, well, what are we doing that's not as good as it could be? Can we afford to do it? Okay, we'll do that. And things like, we were the first people to have transparent aerodynamic scientific white papers around the development process, and it wasn't, we'd both done science degrees, and our dad was an engineer, and we had scientists. We had an engineer called Louisa running our engineering department. We've got 5 full-time engineers now, Rob, Paddy, Ollie, and then 2 other guys as well, Dan and Rich White, in the product development team, just pushing things forwards all the time. So it doesn't seem that hard to release that information and just be open with people about what we're doing, so that people who, often there's lots of bike riders who know a lot about engineering and science, they can look at that and see what we're doing. Most of the bike companies never even, before we did, no one had ever done anything like that. And then that ability to share and just be open and transparent about it. And people can put comments up, and we often reply, and other people get involved and discuss it with each other, rather than just oh, it's X% this or that, and they don't show any of the real scientific information behind it.
Human touch, and like I was over at the other warehouse, and it's actually like looking at the helps team, like the live chats, and like that human element behind it. I think there's, in a world now where AI is such a big hot topic, and obviously there is a time and place for it, but like looking at some of the live chat questions coming in and just people wanting reassurance, asking questions, and it's like there's a team on hand there to literally reply like live back to you. It's a real person. And it's such a nice touch.
Totally, and so many of them are incredible bike riders as well. We're just talking about Zan, who's national cyclocross champion. She's answering your live chats.
Yeah,
we've got Richard Cartland. He competes at national hill climb. Often in some of the top positions, and he's really good friends with a lot of the other national hill climb people, including people like Andy Feather, who we sponsor and have done because of that relationship. And then Simon McNamara, who's our head of customer service. He's been national, European champion, Masters road race champion. You're dealing with
strong rider.
Exactly. And he's like 52 and just did a 18 or 19 minute 10 time trial the other day. So you're talking to people who really love the sport, and that's what so many of us here. Hence why kind of the parent company, it's not really a parent company because we're only a small business really, but we call ourselves the rider firm because that's the ethos of what we're about. So and as you say, with the wheels, we just launched the Limitless 4am, 5am, and we've got more in development, as you know already. Watch this space for things like gravel development, some pretty special wheels which you've already got out being tested with Tour de France level teams for time trial as well. They're being tested at the top of the sport, and we're obviously in conversation. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's like I think an important aspect. It's like like I touched upon, like there's all the data to back it up, and you can see that. But actually, it's having the proof. It's having the riders at the highest level of the sport using the products. If there's a testimony to how good the wheels are, like that's perfect, isn't it? It's exciting times, I think.
And for us that's really important, and obviously we've been with the team that has previously been Cooper High Tech and now High Tech Performance Products, I think is the team name, the women's up at the kind of top level of women's racing, and we've been with them for 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 or 4 years now. They were at Tour de France Femme a few years back, and then previous to that we were with Team Quebecer, people like Victor Campenarts,
that's his bike there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the bike he rode, one of the bikes he rode that year to win a stage of the Giro d'Italia on 48 Limitless wheels, which was the very first generation of Limitless, now on the third generation. And actually, riders back then that we had conversations with, would give us a lot of feedback. Victor Campenarts was all about the aerodynamic development, and would just give us so much good feedback, and he loved how we had really approached it from a proper engineering scientific point of view. So he would run wider tyres, lower pressure, wider rims, because he knew that from an overall aerodynamic drag point of view that was more efficient. And obviously you're preparing the air. First of all, you're riding at different yaw angles, so the narrowest wheel isn't going to be the fastest at different yaw angles, but also you're preparing the airflow for the rest of the bike and the rider. The down tube of a bike is, that one probably is in the region of 70 millimeters wide. There's no point having a 25 millimeter tyre and wheel in front of it. You're preparing the air for the rest of the bike and rider system. So obviously that's one of the other elements, is the new 4am, 5am. They're shallower in the rear because the legs of the riders are moving so vigorously, they complicate the airflow in the rear of the bike to the point where actually you're not really got any attached airflow to any of the surfaces on the rear of the bike. So when we've tested with a disc wheel and a 50 millimeter wheel, deep wheel, in the wind tunnel with a rider on a bike, you're seeing less than a watt difference between those two. So it's
mind-boggling, that, isn't it? Actually, you think it should make this massive difference, but like you said, a 1 watt difference. But actually, it goes back to that real life. Actually, out on the road, I was going to say, I did a triathlon a couple of weeks ago, and it's like there's people out there with disc wheels, and I was overtaking them because they couldn't actually really control them because it was a fairly windy day, and I was out there on my Hunt wheels, 50 mil deep, and overtaking all these guys just on my road bike, and it's just like, again, it's perfect proof.
Totally, and that real world riding feel, but also the data is super important to us. So, you know, in terms of the feel, one of the things that actually when we were doing testing for Limitless V1, we were focused very heavily on the aerodynamics, and obviously we went wider. We were the first company in the world, and people like Specialized and Envy have gone wider since, and Vision. But we were the first company in the world to be out at 34 millimeters wide because of the way the airflow comes off of a 28 or 30 mil tire. You need to keep it attached as it spreads and comes back, but also you're helping with the rest of the bike in terms of things like airflow onto the down tube, as we mentioned before. But the other element there was that when you're looking at aerodynamics as primarily, you can save an awful lot of drag, but the feedback we got at that point, particularly one of the riders on the team that we did an end of season technical session with, we did it with 3 or 4 of the riders, and we'd done it at the start of this season as well. Simon Clark, he was a mountain domestique, and he fed back to us that he spends a lot of his time in the peloton, and especially on the bigger mountain days, he would need to stay in the lead group as long as he could, and on things like classics. So he wasn't often in the wind that much, but he was often in a peloton that was often stretching out, especially around hairpins or into tight junctions. You know, the classics, there's plenty of examples of that. And he was finding the inertia of the most aerodynamic wheels a little bit hard to handle. So a lot of riders were running, you know, 50, 55 mil deep wheels, but he said that for him, running a 40 mil deep wheel was always the preference because he needed to accelerate so often to close up as the peloton stretched out and rejoined. So, and obviously being a lighter rider. So that was a big focus as we moved through generation 2 and generation 3, was to really build out the aerodynamics, but also weight reduction as well. So clearly the ability to shave off several hundred grams.
It's impressive.
Yeah, and that's something we've looked at all the different technologies. That's so front and rear wheel differential. The front is the area that makes the most difference in terms of aerodynamics. So we really focus on that in width and depth. Mm-hmm. Then the rear wheel, we actually slim down, we make it stiffer with more spokes, so it delivers your power transfer. But we don't actually waste weight in the rear wheel where it doesn't make that much difference aerodynamically.
Go slightly shallower and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then other technologies, things like the carbon titanium spokes, have made a big difference in terms of weight. We've worked on the rim layups, and obviously our Limitless technology, especially in the front wheel, helps us to keep the weight low because that helps reduce the density of the larger rim. So while still keeping it nice and strong. So another area you obviously mentioned was outdoor ride feel, and for us, we're looking at that from the riders' feedback point of view, but we're also looking at it massively from the point of view of aerodynamic data as well. So obviously a wind tunnel is really controlled, but there's been a lot of development. So wind tunnel's the primary place where we do a lot of our developments. We have what we call Hunt 5-stage aero development. We start off with computational fluid dynamics, and we do that with a bike and a wheel, but we don't build in the rider into that.
Okay, because it's just the components, just the bike.
Exactly. Yeah. The modelling is too unpredictable to get good answers out of a rider moving in computational fluid dynamics because it's so distant from real world that you're making a lot more assumptions in that calculation. So we then move into the wind tunnel where we do printed prototypes of the wheel and then do that on their own, but also in the bike. And then we will also do validation with the rider on in the wind tunnel. So there's several stages there. And then the final stage is we also go and take the wheels outdoors, and we use a company and a piece of equipment called Aerosensor, which is a guy called Dr. Barnaby Garud, and he works with people like Team Ineos and a few of the other World Tour teams, and he's got a lot of experience, and he's helped us to really calibrate that system to make sure we're getting good, accurate real-world data. And actually, one of the big key areas that a wind tunnel takes into account a certain element, but it's rotational drag as well, so which is how your spokes are moving through the air and how they're creating drag. In real world, you're getting all of that included because you're measuring power output, speed, and obviously the aero sensor is measuring all of the air movement, and then resolving all of that to try and give you a good, accurate bit of information at the end of it. So, and that's where we also really see significant improvements by having lower spoke count, focusing on that front wheel aerodynamics, and it takes into account all of the real rider movement, because obviously the bike's even moving as well, which you don't really get in a wind tunnel. So it's all of that really plays into how do we make the fastest, most aerodynamic wheels. So
yeah, it's sort of like what I've seen today. It's like, you see the finished product, but you don't actually see the 10, could be 20 prototypes and like versions that like constantly being refined and actually, okay, so it's faster than this, but in a real world scenario, and it's just continuously pushing and finding out, what is really the best.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, huge amount of development, and massive kudos to the guys. All the guys ride and race, and
I think that's the cool thing about the brand is actually the people who work here know about cycling in the industry, like they love it, and I think that's an important part on potentially why the wheels are so good. It's because these people live and breathe the industry, so they really know what they're talking about, but they actually know what will work best and in real world scenarios, which at the end of the day most people care about.
Yeah, no, totally. So, Rob, our head of engineering, he was just at Goodwood doing the road races last night. Paddy, senior development engineer, he races Cat 2, and the other engineer, product manager, they're all mountain bikers and racers and do road and track and stuff like that. So and I try and get out and do some cyclocross races and track races, but I'm not very good. So have a go, but it's more fun with my kid.
What's your favourite sort of like wheel? If you had to go like one sort of discipline wheel set, like what would you choose? What would be like your preference? Out of all the range, what would be your...
I mean, if I could only have one bike at all, I would have an XE like 120 bike, and that would be if I had to have one bike, because I could do some cross-country mountain bike racing, which I really enjoy, and you can go and bash about on the downs, and you can go up to Pease Lake and have a good time on the on that kind of stuff. And 120mm bikes now, mountain bikes, are so good. You can do so many different things on them. So, but I ride gravel, road, do race CX in the winter. So bit of everything. But as I say, definitely not challenging the podium. Just having a good time. That's the main thing.
That's the important thing.
So
amazing. I think there's covered so much there, and like from what I've learned today, is just just the amount of knowledge and just like the process behind it all is so much more in depth than I think anyone will ever realise. I think it's easy to see those final numbers and stuff on a sheet, but you don't see the literally years of planning to get to that final concept, which is quite cool. And obviously the launch of the new 4am and 5am is that's been a real success. So
cheers. And obviously it's great to have athletes like yourself out racing on the new wheels, and it's pretty exciting. We've got, as I say, several World Tour teams testing them at the moment. So World Tour and top Pro Conti teams, Pro Tour now, aren't they? They're called ETT. I have to spend a lot of time looking at the rankings, working out who's going to be at the Tour de France next year. So
but watch this space. It's see what happens next couple of years. Some big things coming.
Exactly. And as I mentioned, more stuff coming on gravel as well. Super aerodynamic gravel wheels. And
I was going to say that's big. Sorts of the big trend at the minute, isn't it? It's graveling. Actually, it's you guys are, from what it looks like, really pushing again. What's the norm there, and how do we really maximise? And because gravel racing is getting faster, more technical, and from what I see, you've got some really exciting stuff coming in that area, which would be cool.
And obviously there's a whole. So we've obviously effectively the last couple of years we've really focused on the development of our mid and then top end road wheels. So really push that forwards, and obviously that's why we're talking to that world level teams, but also we're applying that knowledge and thought process into the gravel field. Obviously the other thing that's happening in gravel is 32 inch. So which is just which I can see why everybody takes the mickey out of it, but there seems to be some sensible approach, and at the end of the day, it's not really down to us to go, you should ride this or you should ride that. What it's down to as well, if athletes are choosing a certain type of a bike, and people think we're pushing bigger, wider tyres, it's not really like that. It's people out riding bigger, wider tyres on road and gravel, you know.
But there's a reason that's happening. It's not just trendy.
No.
It's actually like, you see wider rim profiles, and it's like it's not just like a niche. It's not just marketing. There are reasons there. They are faster. They are more comfortable. They are more aerodynamic. It's like there is a reason why these things are happening and productions like moving in this direction. So
and I think our understanding, you know, the understanding that just testing a wheel on its own, people think, 25mm wheel, 25 or 27mm wide wheel and a 25 or 27mm wide tyre, that's going to be more aerodynamic. But the understanding that is at the front of a rider and bike system and a down tube, that's only recently started to be understood. So, you know, and it was, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago I went to one of the bike shows at Crystal Palace, and even back then I was quite surprised how so many normal road riders were coming to us and saying, I'm riding 34mm road tyres. And you're just like, okay, or 32mm, 34mm. Even back then, that's what normal people are choosing to ride, because they're just much more enjoyable to ride than riding a 25 or something at 100 psi batters you around. We all remember those. We all used to ride them. So it's just what people are choosing to ride, and it's the same with gravel. 32 inch is probably going to get chosen by some people who see that as the right option for them, and it's up to us to look at how do we help them to have the best performance wheel for them.
Real life, and I guess it also depends on the bike manufacturers and stuff as well, as if they catch up, and it's all exciting stuff to come. And there's obviously, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of the guys just won Unbound on 32 inch, didn't he? So I mean, if there's proof in the pudding.
And there's already some testing data that's showing that roller resistance wise it should make a difference. As I say, we're not really there to make the decision for the rider. We're there to serve the riders based on the decisions they make, and that's the core of like everything we do. Is we're riders. We love being here to serve riders, and we want to provide them with the best information, try and make the best wheels we can, and then help them to have that information so they can make the choice that's right for them based on what they need. That's our job, and we enjoy it.
Doing a very good job of it.
We'll try, but there's always plenty of other people pushing hard as well in the wheel space, and that's good because it makes better wheels for riders. So, and everyone has to keep pushing hard against each other. So it's good
stuff.
So nice one. Cheers for coming on.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's just it's been really interesting to see all behind the scenes and hear more about it all, and obviously see what's coming as well. That's cool, but I mean, new range of Limitless is really exciting. So looking forward to testing those out.
But
no, thank you very much for having me.